So, day 1, on that table, we're splitting this lesson into 2 different days. Okay, so we're going to talk about 3 concepts today and 3 concepts on Monday. Okay, so this is day 1. Conditional statement. What did I say I was going to call those? If-then statements. Okay, conditional statements are your if-then statements. That P to Q, okay, the P is your if, the Q is your then. Your book, this isn't on your notes yet. So the if is the P, the then is the Q. Okay, your book just uses those letters to notate it instead of writing out if and then. Okay, but that's the notation, that's what that means. Okay, so looking at this example right here, this is not in your notes yet. This one right here. It says you can register to vote if you are at least 18 years old. We want to write that as a conditional statement, which means we want to write it as an if-then statement. We're not talking about truth value. We just want to rewrite it as an if-then statement. What do you notice in the sentence already? It says if, right? So if you are at least 18 years old, then you can register to vote. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We're writing if-then statements. So some sentences might already have if in there. Not all of them will. Like the example right here, not in your notes yet. Okay, this one, a square must have 4 congruent sides. How can I change that or write that as a if-then statement? Give it a try. You said square twice. So this is what's tricky about if-then statements. We can't add a new word, and we can't take any words out. Okay, so what if I say if it has 4 congruent sides, then it is a square? Could I say that?
No. You took must out.
Okay. It has 4 congruent sides. So if it is a square, then it must have 4 congruent sides. Could I flip-flop it? If it must have 4 congruent sides, then it is a square. What are we? So if it is a square, then it must have 4 congruent sides. Not all of you are going to have the same if-then statement exactly. Okay, they're not always going to be exactly the same. Camden can have something totally different than what Spencer has, and vice versa. Okay, but they could still both work. Okay? Go ahead and try it, A and B on your notes. Example 1. Okay, if you're still working, that's okay. Here's what I have up here. Okay? Let's do the Alberto one first, okay? Why is this one easy? Because it has if in it already. Okay, so we take this if statement, put it at the beginning. If he washes the car, then he can go to the movies. Okay? Because if it has if somewhere in the sentence, you already have your if statement. And then you just say then the rest of it. Okay? The top one's a little more tricky. Okay, I put if all angles of a triangle are congruent, then it is equilateral. Is that what everyone else had? Did anyone write it the other way? What'd you put?
I put if a triangle's angles are all congruent, then it's equilateral.
Yep, that's good. Yep. Did anybody else have anything different? You could have said if a triangle is equilateral, then all angles are congruent. You could have also said that. Okay. We're gonna move on to truth value. I already had you do this a little bit at the beginning. We are not making these tables. We're not doing those. Okay, we're just gonna talk about truth values to these questions. I'm gonna jump. I want you guys to talk with someone sitting next to you about your example 2, A and B. So if it's true, all you have to do is put true. So if it's always true, just put true. If you think there's a counterexample, you put false and give me the counterexample. Okay, go do A and B on example 2. About these, I'm going to look at example 2 first because you all should know what this means.
Yeah.
Midpoint, right? What is the little line right here? What does that tell me about A and B?
All the same. Collinear.
They're collinear. That means it's a segment. Okay, if it's ever written like that with a line above it, that means it's a segment. Okay, so I have point A, point B. If X is the midpoint, what does it mean for X to be a midpoint? Where's X at? It's in the middle, or is it just anywhere?
Middle.
It's in the middle. Okay, so if X is the midpoint of AB, then X lies on A and B. Is that true?
Yes.
Is it always true?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so This one is true. If it's true, you're done with it. You don't have to do anything. Okay. A, if a quadrilateral four-sided shape has a right angle, then it is a rectangle. Why is that not always true? Could be a square, could be a trapezoid, okay? So it doesn't, a trapezoid doesn't have to be like this and this. It could be like this. Does that make sense? So it doesn't always, a trapezoid does not have to look like this. It can look like this with this right angle in there. It could look like that. Yep. Questions about truth value. If it's true, what do you have to do? Just put true. If it's false, what do you have to do?
False with an explanation.
False, and then explain why it is. Yep. Okay. One more thing we have to get into it. Talk about today, and that's converse. What do you think a converse does to the if-then statement? What do you think converse does to the if-then statement? It does. It switches it. Okay? It takes the if-then and it just flips them around. Okay, so let me explain. In this is my original statement right here. This is not in your notes. Okay? This is my original right here. If you play the trumpet, then you play a brass instrument. Okay, what's happening is we have if, and we're taking the old then, that is my new if. If you play a brass instrument, and then you play the trumpet. Does that make sense? It's just flipping them. You don't have to say true or false right now. You don't have to say true or false right now. We're just talking about the converse. So it takes the original, and it takes your statements, and it puts them on the other side. Okay, the if and then stay put. Okay, but these two switch. You're never going to write a then if statement. It's always going to be if and then. Okay, so what are you always going to start your sentences with? If. Okay, what's always going to be in the middle of them? Then. Yep. Go ahead and try example 3. Example 3, A and B. So you're writing the converse, and then I want you to tell me whether the converse is true or false. Okay, check up here. I wrote the converse up here for you. Check it. I wrote the converse up here for you. What is happening from the if-then statement, the original, and the converse? What's flipping? The statement with the if and the then, right? They're just switching spots. Is if still written first? Yes. Okay. The red one. If it has 4 sides, then it is a quadrilateral. Is that true? Is that true? Yes, that is true. I know I didn't. Sorry. That is true. If their angle measures add up to 90, then 2 angles are complementary. Is that true? That is also true. Yep. Okay, so again, if it's true, all you have to do is put true and you're done. Okay?